Hi folks, welcome. I don't know about you, but I'm a potter that's really, I suppose, thrown with water most of my potting life, and I know that some potters, for example the likes of Michael Cardew and Shoji Hamada, the well-known Japanese potter as well, they tended to throw their pots not so much with water, but more with a slip. I just wanted for us to have a look at that and just to do a little bit of study on it, because I've been drawing my own conclusions and I'd like to share them with you. Let's just bring the camera in here, and we're going to get the focus down there on the wheel head. Now you'll see here, well, you'll see there's a lump of clay on the wheel which I'm going to throw in a second. I've got two containers here, one that contains a rather slippy, watery liquid, and another one here which contains just plain water, but it's got a yellow dye in it. What I wanted to do was just do some throwing here on the wheel and throw a simple pot and have a little experiment, because I've come to the conclusion, despite most of my potting career throwing with clean water, I've come to the conclusion that slip is better. And in my slippy water here, I sometimes put a spot of vinegar. And you know what? When I'm working, as I clean my hands nowadays, I'm taking this and putting it back into my pot of slippy water, so it keeps it a nice consistency. Anyway, I've got here, as I say, I've got some yellow dye, but first of all I just want to throw a basic, doesn't matter what the shape is, we'll make it a cylindrical shape. The purpose of this is not so much the pot, but I just wanted to analyse a little bit why I think slip is better. I always sort of draw the analogy of, you know, what we're throwing with here is like this to the pot, this slippy water or whatever we're going to use, is like oil is to an engine in a car. It lubricates. It enables the clay to slip through our fingers, doesn't it? And we all know what it's like when we're throwing, when we hit a dry spot. I used to put some stuff, and I still do, in my vehicles, called Slick 50, which is like a treatment, an engine treatment, which gives a non-stick finish to the inside of your engine, like a non-stick frying pan, or a friction reducer. Well, I suppose water or slip, in this case here, when we're throwing, it acts as a kind of friction reducer, doesn't it? Okay, so look, there we are. I've thrown a... check we're still in the picture. Yes. Now, even though it's a sunny day, I'm going to give us a bit extra light. Now, what actually happens when we throw, when we put our hands in the water pot, and we put then water also onto the side of the pot we're making? what actually happens? Well, the water that's on the pot, in the action of going round, it becomes a slip, doesn't it, on our fingertips and on our hands here. And as we're doing our throwing, we'll find our hands collect quite a lot of slip. And we usually just wipe it off and discard it. Well, as I told you, I'm now collecting that slip and putting it in my pot here. And I've got a nice little brew going on here, which is, oh, it's got a really nice smell going on there. You know, it's sort of rotting, and hey, that's good stuff. I've come to the conclusion. I'm never going to empty my water pot again and throw away that precious sludge, that precious slick 50. So that's one thing that happens. It collects on our hands and provides the lubrication that we need. Now, I wanted to see what the difference was between slip and water. So what I've done is, I've got some slip here in a sponge. I'm just going to put a little bit on the top here and see what it does as the wheel is going around. Okay, well, you can see it's discoloured because it's rotting, it's going off, it's a darker colour, and all of the ingredients, the vegetable matter, and I put a bit of vinegar in there as well, which of course helps it to rot down. So now, being slightly more viscous than plain water, the slip, of course, the force of gravity comes into operation, doesn't it? So as soon as you water your pot, the water immediately goes down, doesn't it? It goes straight down onto the wheel head here and is spun off and lost. Now, slip, because it's more viscous, adheres more to the pot. Therefore, it doesn't go down and is not so easily spun off. Also, think of it like this. Water in itself doesn't really have a lot of lubricative properties as such. It's only when it's mixed with the clay and in the interaction of the water with the clay, producing that slip, as I said earlier, that the lubrication occurs and that slippy feel of the clay running through our fingers. So if we were already putting onto the pot, not just water, but we're already putting a slip onto the pot, surely that's going to be more lubricative than just plain water. It's going to lubricate better our hands and fingers as we work the clay, and it's going to stay on the pot more. It's not going to run off so easily. This is not. I'm pretty much, as I told you, bringing me in on my this is my own experience as of today, I'm just, see, look there, I've just cleaned that off the side of the pot. That nice goes back in the pot. Right. Well, let's just take some of this other substance here which I've mixed up, which is, where's my sponge? I've got a sponge here and I've got some water. Now you can remember how that slip, how it, let's put a bit of this water with this yellow dye just on the side of the pot. You see what's happening? It's running off the pot. See how quickly that runs down? That water? And you see it's down here on the wheel head. And as I spin the wheel, of course, it's spun off and lost. Let's just clean that off again. My best friend. So, now let's just do that same experiment again, this time with the slip. Of course it all goes down. Of course it does, because it's... Can you see the difference? The slip adheres to the pot, stays on the pot. And if it does that, my fingers and my hands are going to stay that much more lubricated for a longer time, and I haven't got to keep on going for more water the whole time. So well, to slip or not to slip? Yeah, well, that's perhaps an interesting little study. Water or slip to throw with? You draw your own conclusions. Tell me what you think. I know what I think. Slip wins. Slip wins all the way. No competition. So I encourage you, maybe try throwing with a slip, not just plain clean water, but a nice little brew. Simon Leach here saying, keep practicing. See you around.